All right, guys, today is brought to you by the letter E as we talk about easements, encroachments, and encumbrances.
You better get fired up!
So I thought it'd be fun to bring in some terminology from the real estate world that a lot of people get confused or maybe they've never heard of before and give you some definitions. Let's not waste time. Let's get right to it. We're going to start off with the first one, which is easements, right? So an easement is when someone has property rights over another person's property and it's authorized. So I'll give you a great example, right? I own a property and it's on the road. You own a property behind that property and there's no road access, right? You're landlocked on all sides. The only way for you to get road access is to go through my property. What you're gonna do is ask me, probably before you even bought the property, and get an easement agreement so that you're able to get from the road to your property and back through that agreement. You also see utility easements, right? With the power companies, that's a big one. They'll come through with their electric lines and they'll take some of your land underneath the ground and put their power lines, and they take that easement so that they can get power to everybody in the community. Another common easement is water rights, right? So maybe there's a strip of land that you own and you've got access to the water, and some other people in the area also have deeded access to the water, but the only way they can get to it is by the easement through your property. They're going to be told exactly where the left and right limits are. There's my Army terminology coming back. The left and right limits of where they can go, how they can utilize it. Can they go by foot? Can they go by car? How can they get over that property? And then what rights do they have with the water? All that'll be spelled out in the paperwork, telling both the deed holder and the person who has the easement right what they can and cannot do. All right, guys, before we get on to our second term, if you're liking the information that I put out loads of great stats every single day on my Instagram handle. Go check it out. And if you want great local information on the Treasure Coast, you can see me everywhere all the time on my Facebook business page. So an encroachment is very similar, except it's unauthorized, right? So you're taking advantage of somebody's property in one way or another. We'll get into a couple examples here, but it's not approved. So I'll give you a couple examples, right? Let's say you bought a small lot in town and it's got a nice big garage in the back. In a lot of states, you don't do surveys often when you buy a property in town. So you buy the property assuming that, hey, the last 7 people who bought the property were happy, I'm happy, and then you find out 2 months after owning the property that the neighbor got a survey and your garage is 6 inches on his property. That's a problem, right? That is an encroachment. Now, one of the ways to fix that encroachment is to negotiate a deal with the neighbor, ask them for an easement over that 6 inches, and then boom, you write up the paperwork, you get it filed, and now you've got an easement that allows you to keep your garage there. So another common encroachment that we see is fences, right? You see fences all the time. People just throw them up because they're so common and they're fairly cheap compared to a lot of other structures that you build on real estate. It's really a common encroachment. Most people don't get a survey before they put up the fence. And when you're the one putting up the fence, a lot of times it's the mindset that it's not a big deal. I'm helping them out. I'm helping me out. I'm just going to put the fence right here where I think the line is. But you'll see over time that some people do get a survey. They find that the fence is a couple inches over the line or maybe a couple feet over the line. And now you've got a problem. Are you going to tear the fence down? Are you going to get an easement agreement? What are you going to do with that? And both the buyer and the seller, or if you're not buying and selling and it's just owner and an owner, you both have to deal with that issue. So small side note, asterisk, wink, wink, if you're going to do something, if you're going to build a structure of any magnitude, you might want to consider getting a survey. And then the last big E word is encumbrances. So an encumbrance can include easements and encroachments and deed restrictions and liens, licenses, a lot of different things that have an impact on that property from somebody who does not own the property. So if you're building a garage and the garage is completely on your land, even though you don't have an encroachment or an easement with that because it's all on your land and it's being built by your contractor, the contractor himself can go out, make a lien, put it against the property, and record it with the county. Because that lien impacts the property, even though it's not the garage itself and you're not taking away from anybody else's enjoyment of their property, it is considered an encumbrance for that reason. I really appreciate you watching. If you like the video, get down and hit that like button. If you loved it, I would love a subscribe, and you guys stay fired up.